The movie begins in the desert of Portugal, where we see two snipers, one named Beckett and the other Zondi. Both are hidden near a military base, watching its gate while communicating via radio with the rest of their team. The rest of the team is currently inside a secret tunnel beneath the base, stealthily making their way in. Their objective is to reach a man named Kovalov, who possesses a devastating weapon that he plans to sell to the Prime Minister. As the team moves through the tunnel, neutralizing guards along the way, Beckett and Zondi remain outside, keeping an eye on the main entrance guarded by soldiers. They receive orders to begin their assault on the guards. Beckett instructs Zondi to take the first shot, and Zondi successfully takes down one of the guards. Beckett then advises him to stay focused, maintain control of the situation, and avoid any emotions or sympathy toward their targets. Beckett himself fires at a second guard, but intentionally aims for his leg. Zondi is momentarily confused, thinking Beckett missed, but quickly realizes that Beckett's shot was a calculated move to draw out another hidden guard. Meanwhile, the team successfully infiltrates the base, reaching an open courtyard and launching an attack. They fight their way to the ammunition room, securing their position. At the same time, their leader, Modis, silently eliminates enemy soldiers. However, one of the soldiers spots them and attempts to escape. Modis quickly pursues him, trying to stop him from reaching Kovalov's chamber. Despite his efforts, the soldier manages to reach Kovalov and alert him. Kovalov immediately grabs his weapon and fires, hitting Modis in the leg. Realizing intruders have breached the base, Kovalov sounds the alarm and rushes with his assistant toward the lab where the devastating weapon is stored. A fierce gunfight erupts, but Kovalov successfully reaches the lab. He contacts the Prime Minister, urging him to send armed militias as backup. Smiling, he begins activating the weapon. Meanwhile, the team eliminates the remaining guards outside and storms into the lab. Kovalov, now surrounded, raises his hands in surrender. However, just as he finds himself cornered, he activates the device, causing a powerful shockwave in the lab. To understand what this weapon is and why the team was after it, we need to go back one day earlier. We see Beckett's plane landing after he was summoned to join a special operations unit for a new mission. Before the mission briefing, he meets Modis, the team leader, who is well aware of Beckett's reputation as one of the world's most skilled snipers. Beckett, however, has no information about the mission or even the country they are currently in. As they walk, Modis introduces Beckett to two team members, Nadia and Nova. They all get into a vehicle, and Nova starts a conversation with Beckett. They discuss the arms dealer, Kovalov, who has arrived in the country to sell a destructive weapon he created to the Prime Minister. The team has little intel on the weapon, aside from its catastrophic potential. Using satellite surveillance, they identified Kovalov's location along with the weapon, leading them to prepare for an assault on the base within the next 48 hours, before the weapon falls into the Prime Minister's hands. Upon reaching the team's training site, Beckett expresses curiosity about the source who recommended him for this mission. He is surprised to learn that the person behind his recruitment is his old friend, Zero, who had arrived before him and joined the team. Zero had convinced Modis that their mission would fail without Beckett, leading to his urgent recruitment. After that, Modis leaves Beckett with the others and takes Zero to introduce him to the rest of the team. He introduces him to Engel, the warrior, as well as Hera and her brother, Halo, who are known as the Axe Twins. The team consists of 10 members, all handpicked by Modis from agencies around the world. When Zero introduces Beckett to the team, his reputation precedes him. Beckett is already famous for his numerous successful operations and is considered the most skilled sniper in the world. At that moment, Modis introduces Beckett to a trainee sniper named Zondi. Although Zondi is highly skilled and exceptionally talented, he has never killed anyone before. Modis assigns Beckett the task of training him in this short period to prepare him for the mission. After Beckett gets to know the team members, they begin preparing and training for the mission. The target facility houses between 20 to 25 personnel, all assigned to protect Kovalov. However, the team plans to infiltrate the base using a secret tunnel to avoid alerting Kovalov, preventing him from notifying the Prime Minister and the military militias. Their primary objective is to capture Kovalov alive, to extract information about the devastating weapon he possesses while also ensuring the weapon is destroyed before it falls into the Prime Minister's hands. Beckett speaks with Zondi, advising him to pull the trigger without allowing emotions or sympathy to interfere with his judgment. He warns him that overthinking the lives of their targets will cause hesitation, emphasizing that the key is to remain detached and follow orders without question. Later, the team gathers for a meal, getting to know each other better. Each member shares stories about their past missions and accomplishments. The following day, they intensify their preparation. Meanwhile, Zero sits with Engel and talks with her, learning that she has a young daughter she hasn't seen in a long time. This visibly affects her, as she deeply misses her child. On the other hand, Beckett has a conversation with Nova, getting to know him better. Nova shares that he loves listening to music because it helps him relax and maintain focus. He also reveals that he learned programming from a young age and once dreamed of being part of the resistance his father led. He strongly believes that the revolution must continue and that the people deserve to reclaim the freedom stolen by his uncle when he seized power. Later, Modis delivers an inspiring speech to the team, motivating them for the mission. He instructs them to get a good night's sleep since they will be moving out at midnight. Before the mission, Modis checks in with Beckett, asking if Zondi is ready for his first real operation. Beckett responds that he will conduct a final test to determine whether Zondi is truly prepared. That night, Beckett takes Zondi to monitor a warehouse and orders him to aim at one of the guards. He then gives Zondi the command to shoot. Zondi hesitates and asks about the identity of the target. Beckett coldly replies that it doesn't matter. It's just an order that must be executed. After a brief moment of hesitation, Zondi finally pulls the trigger, only to realize that the rifle was unloaded. Beckett had set up the test to see if Zondi would follow orders without question. With the final preparations complete, the team sets off in their vehicles at night, heading toward the target location. We then return to the present, where Kovalov has activated the weapon, unleashing a shockwave that knocks everyone in the lab unconscious. Beckett, still outside, tries to contact the team via radio, asking if they are okay, but receives no response. Moments later, they start regaining consciousness. Kovalov attempts to move, but before he can act, Zero enters the lab and points his rifle at him. Meanwhile, Nova and Engel remain outside, guarding the ammunition room. Then, the shockwave also causes them to lose consciousness. They gradually regain their senses alongside Modis, who ascends to the lab. Soon, Hera and Halo arrive, and everyone gathers, confused about what happened and why they blacked out. Kovalov's assistant informs them that everyone present in the lab when the weapon was activated will die shortly. However, Kovalov interrupts, stating that they will die anyway because there is no escape. Militias are already on their way to the facility and will eliminate them all. Realizing they have only 1 hour before the militias arrive, Modi suggests gathering all data about the weapon from the lab's computer servers. But as he speaks, he notices blood trickling from his nose. Suddenly, those who were inside the lab during the weapon's activation start collapsing one by one, succumbing to death. Hera watches in horror as her brother Halo takes his last breath, breaking down in tears. Half of the team perishes, leaving only 6 survivors, those who weren't inside the lab at the time of the weapon's activation. Everyone is in shock, uncertain about what to do next. Tensions rise, and they start blaming each other for failing to stop Kovalov from reaching the weapon and activating it. However, Zero silences them, reminding them that there's no time for regrets or blame. Engel suggests taking their fallen comrades' bodies and retreating through the tunnel, but Zero insists that carrying the bodies isn't an option. They must leave them behind before the militias arrive. Beckett hesitates for a moment, but then regains his composure, reminding them that their mission was to understand the weapon and prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. He assumes leadership of the team, rallying them to continue the mission before escaping through the tunnel. He assigns roles. Hera, Engel, and Zondi will secure the rooftop, while he, Nova, and Zero head to the lab to examine the weapon. Inside the lab, Nova discovers that the weapon's computer is still operational. He retrieves data indicating that the weapon has undergone extensive testing and that numerous governments and regimes plan to use it in the future. Zero wants to destroy the weapon immediately, but Beckett argues that they must first understand how it works and extract its data to prepare the world for its threat. The challenge, however, is that the weapon's data servers are enormous, making it impossible to take them through the tunnel. Beckett asks Nova if he can transfer the data to a satellite. Nova responds that while it is possible, it would take a long time, long enough for the militias to arrive. At this point, the team faces a crucial decision. Either destroy the weapon and escape, or stay and protect it until the data is fully transmitted. Beckett leaves the choice up to them, emphasizing that he won't force anyone to stay. However, everyone decides to stand their ground and fight alongside him. Engel asks Beckett about his plan. He explains that they will fortify their positions within the facility and slow the militias down long enough for Nova to complete the data transfer. Each member will take a strategic position to hold off the enemy's advance. Despite being vastly outnumbered, their teamwork and positioning will buy them precious time. Once the transfer is complete, they will cut off the facility's power and retreat through the secret tunnel. As the team takes their battle positions, Nova continues working inside the lab, managing to transfer 50% of the data to the satellite. Beckett grabs a phone and hands it to Nova, explaining that it contains two numbers, each linked to pre-planted explosives. The first number is set to detonate the passage leading to the lab in case the militias get too close. The second is connected to charges inside the lab, designed to destroy the weapon and its computer servers once the data transfer is complete. Nova takes the phone, feeling the weight of responsibility, but nods in agreement. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad braces for the militia's arrival, each taking a defensive position. The enemy forces breach the main gate, only to walk into an open courtyard where the team has planted a landmine along their path. As the explosion disrupts their advance, the squad deploys smoke grenades to obscure visibility, allowing Beckett to move freely. He takes down multiple enemies with his rifle before retreating to his cover, preparing for a counterattack. The squad opens fire from their strategic positions, creating a deadly crossfire despite being vastly outnumbered. The battle intensifies, and Hera runs out of ammo. She quickly retreats to restock, but is blindsided by an enemy soldier who lands a powerful kick, sending her tumbling into a water fountain. Several soldiers leap in after her, attempting to finish her off in hand-to-hand combat. However, she smirks and says, "You picked the wrong woman." With her signature twin axes, she launches into a fierce melee, swiftly dispatching her attackers with lethal precision. At the same time, a new militia vehicle armed with a heavy machine gun arrives and begins firing directly at the tower where Zondi is stationed. He struggles to take cover from the hail of bullets, while Engel is forced to abandon her position as enemy troops close in on her. Beckett grabs his sniper rifle, but instead of targeting the gunner, he aims at the RPG rounds stored inside the vehicle. With a single precise shot, he ignites them, triggering a massive explosion that wipes out the gunner and several surrounding soldiers. However, more enemy reinforcements keep arriving, forcing Beckett to order a retreat to the next defensive position inside the facility. He takes out several more soldiers as he falls back, then meets up with Zero, who informs him that he's completely out of ammunition. The team scrambles to find cover, determined to hold off the advancing militia and prevent them from reaching the lab. Zero engages in hand-to-hand combat with multiple soldiers, using his combat skills to fend them off. Despite being outnumbered, he holds his ground until one soldier grabs him from behind, attempting to choke him out. Struggling for breath, Zero spots a wooden plank nearby, grabs it, and smashes it against his attacker's head. He then picks up a discarded pistol and eliminates the enemy. Quickly grabbing a grenade from a fallen soldier, he hurls it at the advancing militia before dashing into a nearby room and sealing the door behind him. The ensuing explosion wipes out his pursuers. Elsewhere, Beckett finds himself trapped inside an office, engaged in a brutal close-quarters fight. He suffers a wound to his arm, but manages to overcome his attackers. Binding his injury, he radios Nova to check on the data transfer. Nova reports that it's 98% complete, but suddenly, he hears the approaching footsteps of enemy soldiers making their way through the passage leading to the lab. Without hesitation, he dials the first number on the phone, triggering an explosion that collapses the passage and eliminates the incoming threats. Meanwhile, Beckett remains trapped in the office, surrounded by more enemy soldiers. At the last moment, Zero appears and tosses a grenade at their attackers, giving Beckett the opening he needs to escape. Just then, Nova's voice crackles through the radio. Data transfer complete. Realizing it's time for the final phase of the plan, Beckett orders the team to fall back through the secret tunnel. Before making their escape, they put on their night vision goggles, preparing for the moment when they will plunge the entire facility into darkness. During the team's retreat, Hera discovers that her night vision goggles have broken, leaving her unable to see in the dark. She communicates with the team via radio, telling them that she needs help, as navigating in the darkness will be impossible for her. Pickett responds immediately, telling her that he's on his way. Hera tries to reach the tunnel as quickly as possible, lighting a flare to mark her position, but this reveals her location to the militia soldiers, who start shooting at her. Despite her efforts to dodge the bullets, she is fatally injured and falls to the ground. Pickett arrives too late, finding her lifeless body. He feels sorrow and anger, but realizes there's no time to stop. He quickly bids her farewell and orders the team to continue their way to the secret tunnel. Meanwhile, Pickett asks Nova to stay where he is inside the lab and not leave for the courtyard until he comes to get him. Pickett heads to the courtyard, but is shot in the shoulder, causing him to pause for a moment due to the pain. Zero quickly approaches to help him, but at that moment, Nova exits the lab despite Pickett's warnings and is met with heavy gunfire from the militia soldiers. The team rushes to engage the militia, but Nova is critically injured. Pickett and Zero try to carry Nova and retreat, but his condition deteriorates rapidly. Before taking his last breath, Nova hands the phone to Pickett and dies in his hands. Pickett is deeply affected, but knows they must complete the mission. He immediately dials the second number, triggering the explosion that destroys the lab and the weapons servers, ensuring they don't fall into the militia's hands. However, Pickett himself is severely wounded and realizes his chances of survival are slim. He tells the team to continue on through the secret tunnel and informs them that he will stay in the courtyard to secure their escape. Despite Zero refusing to leave him alone, Pickett insists on his decision, stressing that completing the mission is more important than anything else. But Zero refuses to abandon him and insists on staying, saying that they're friends and nothing will separate them. As the militia soldiers approach, Pickett and Zero throw smoke grenades into the courtyard, giving them enough cover to continue fighting and ensure Zondi and Engels escape through the tunnel. Despite the fierce battle, it seems the militia keeps coming, but suddenly, local resistance forces arrive and storm the compound, tipping the balance of the fight. The resistance joins the battle and eliminates the remaining militia soldiers. After the fight ends, the resistance leader approaches Pickett, who asks him to retrieve the bodies of his fallen team members so they can be buried with dignity. The resistance leader agrees, and the bodies are taken along with the team. Before leaving, one of the resistance fighters checks Nova's body and discovers that he's still alive. He's quickly carried away in an attempt to save him. Later, the remaining 4 team members gather on the beach, preparing to board a boat to escape. But at the last moment, Engel and Zondi decide to stay behind, declaring they will continue the fight to support the revolution against the militia. Pickett and Zero accept their decision respectfully, then board the boat and sail off into the horizon, leaving the battlefield behind, but carrying its spirit with them. If you love movies and movie recaps, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more. Hit like if you enjoyed the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.